Alrighty. So I just want to welcome all of you guys for joining us today. This is our 11th annual Torchbearers Mixer, but this is our first ever virtual Torchbearers Mixer. So that's definitely why I got dressed up today. A couple of people asked for the bow tie, so I threw it on. I chose red because Torchbearers red. It's like the unofficial color, and I love it. So my name is Aaron Englehart, and I am a 2020 member. So this is my first year doing a whole mixer thing, and it's the first year of being virtual, so that's fantastic. I get to kill two birds with one stone. If you're here today, you are taking a very important step at joining a great organization that focuses on young leaders, pairing them with nonprofits, bringing people to the city of Akron and the greater Akron area, retaining that talent, and helping our local community. Being an interested person today, there might come a time during this entire presentation where you have questions or concerns or something like that. If you just go ahead and type it in the chat box, my friend Diazwal and Kelly are monitoring that. We're going to have a whole section that's tied to questions and frequently asked questions, stuff like that. So they'll monitor that, and then we'll go ahead and we'll answer those later. I want to point out that no question is a dumb question. I know that as a Torchbearer member, a new member, I had a lot of questions starting out. I still ask a ton of questions. So we encourage, reaching out to us if you have any of those. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and toss it over to Diazwal, and she's going to start the video, Torchbearers, Ready to Lead, Inspired to Serve.
Awesome. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get this started.
Hi guys, my name is Vishpat. I'm your 2020 Torchbearers President in class of 2016. Really over the past few years, Torchbearers has meant so much to me. I've been able to grow personally and professionally through this organization, through just learning about myself, learning about others, and above all, I've been able to create some amazing friendships. I don't think I would have ever met those individuals through my day job or through other community service opportunities, but those friendships are just a big part of what Torchbearers is. The relationships that you're able to build, it's very unique. Meeting people from different industries, different backgrounds, some that are native Akronites, some like myself that are transplant Akronites, coming together to better the community, better Akron, and better the greater Akron area. And that's really what Torchbearers is all about. Torchbearers over the past year has gone through a few changes. We started this year like any other year with a member retreat in January with some inclement weather that came in, which was okay. We went through it. Also, we had our anniversary event in February. It was probably one of the last big events that we've had in this community, and we were fortunate to be able to share that night with our many not-for-profit organizations, other organizations that we work with, and really community partners. And that night was extremely special, where we talked about what we did in 2019 and really preceding that. In 2019, we collaborated in the Park East community. We created a day-long events for family to come and enjoy, face painting, kind of going through an obstacle maze. And we also created a fitness trail for that community. We collaborated with the neighborhood. It was a unique experience. If you haven't been able to go, definitely check it out, especially if you're still working remotely and you're trying to get outside as the weather changes. It's just a unique place that we were able to have that impact. Also, one of the things that we did was really change our organization bylaws to use the pronouns they, their, them. And this is really a big testament to our diversity and inclusive efforts that we've had over the past year, and that will kind of continue. And so really, we started that year off just like any other year, ready to go full force. Our 5 committees, leadership and development, membership, marketing and communications, events, and community impact, really had created an amazing 2019 experience. They have playbooks that are specific to each of the committees of how things go, how things function, what to keep an eye out for. And the 5 committees and their 10 respective leaders were ready to go. They were ready to rock and roll. But mid-March, something happened. Our world changed, our local community changed. And if you know any torchbearer or if you've heard it, we're all about embracing change. And that's exactly what we've done, and that's exactly what we'll continue to do. Through this pandemic, we've been able to realize how we can leverage ourselves and really leverage our membership to still connect. It might be through video, it might be virtually, but we're still being able to build those relationships, still grow personally, still grow professionally. To that end, the board has really committed to have virtual meetings to be a component of all of our meetings moving forward. Even when in-person is okay and is lifted from a stay-at-home order or whatever it may be, there's still be that virtual component to make sure that, if you do have kids at home or you're caring for elderly, or hey, you're not able to make something but you still want to be part of it, we'll make sure that can happen. And that's something that we actually have learned. So what's next? What happens? And that's really where you guys all come in. The class of 2021 applications are open right now. They will be open through the end of this month. They will actually close June 30th at 11:59 p.m. Please don't procrastinate. Please make sure you get those in beforehand. And really that application process is fairly simple. You'll be asked to kind of fill out some demographic information through that, and then there'll be 5 short answer questions as well. And those questions are going to be about your commitment, your impact, and who you are outside of that resume, really outside of what makes you you. And that's what Torchbearers, again, is all about. So once the application is submitted, our membership committee will really look and they will start to review those materials. And then many of you, hopefully a lot of you, will be receiving in-person interview requests. Usually these in-person interview requests would be happening in a lot of different places throughout Akron and the greater Akron area, but there will be a virtual component this year. We want to be mindful of some of the restaurants and some of their limitations that they might have in their space and what that looks like, but the process outside of that won't change. You'll still be meeting with 3 people during that interview process. It'll be a board member, it'll be a returning member, and it'll be a first year or a class of 2020 member. And really that interview experience is not to scare you or freak you out, but it's also just to have a conversation with you. Really make sure that you're committed to this organization. And to that end, that's really why there is a limitation on the number of people that are accepted into each class. That cap is up to 40 people. And we're not trying to limit or say, hey, you're not good enough to be a torchbearer. Every single one of you is good enough to be a torchbearer. We want to make sure that impact that you have, the torchbearer's experience is unique for each and every one of you. And to do that, we want to make sure that 40 is right around that sweet spot of what it has been. And through this whole process, you'll have so many opportunities to ask questions, to reach out to any of us, and to really ask for feedback. And I encourage you to do that. Once all is said and done, we hope that Torchbearers is a part of your life the way it has been a part of mine and many of our members. And I know that here shortly you'll be hearing from current members and some alumni as well on their experiences and how it's so unique and so individualized. But at the end of the day, I think we all love Torchbearers from the bottom of our heart and hope you can get it as well. So again, don't be afraid to reach out, and hope to see you guys all soon. Let's get it.
Something that I have learned from Torchbearers is that the city of Akron and the greater community is way bigger than I know I thought it was. There are so many nonprofits, events, groups. I thought I knew the city of Akron well, and I thought I was super involved, and I would say I am, but since joining Torchbearers, I've learned about groups that I never knew existed. So it's really cool that now I'm able to get involved in ways that I wasn't before.
Torchbearers has taught me that community is everything. I've come to meet some incredible people who have become some of my best friends. Together, we've been able to accomplish amazing things that have hopefully helped make Akron a better place for everybody.
It gave me an opportunity to meet new like-minded people and to further develop relationships with those who I knew prior to joining the organization. It gives you a whole host of ways to serve our community, and I am so grateful for the opportunity to be a part of such a service-minded organization.
I would say my best moment so far would be my new member mixer that happens right when you become a new member. This was the first event that I had, and getting to meet everybody was super cool. Everyone was really welcoming, and I actually met two people from my class who become my good friends. Just having everybody share their stories, their journey, and their excitement just really made me excited myself to experience what they have had.
My proudest moment in Torchbearers was the completion of the Park East Park Build project. This was a culmination of months of effort for many local organizations. At the end of that project stood a brand new park connected to a neighborhood by a fitness trail that Torchbearers had sponsored and built.
I actually served on the marketing and communications, the Marcom team, my second year, and it was really interesting and eye-opening seeing how the voice of Torchbearers is crafted. And honestly, I'm still friends with a lot of that group to this day.
I would totally encourage any young professional in the Akron area to join Torchbearers because it not only is a growth and development program for you as a young professional, but you get to make so many connections with like-minded people that are trying to make a difference in the community. And also you just get to experience so many cool things that Akron has to offer that you might not otherwise find out about.
If you're thinking of joining Torchbearers, I would highly recommend it. I've met some of my best friends in this organization. I have served alongside these people. I have come to know them as peers as well as mentors, and I've come to know different parts of this city because of it.
Awesome. I've got to say that definitely has me itching to get back out there. I've missed all my friends, and seeing them all on screen and stuff like that and making me miss many more. So I want to thank Garrick Black for that great video. It just makes me want to get out there. You did an awesome job. Now that we have a little bit more information about Torchbearers, I think right now is a good thing or a good point in the day to open up to questions. So again, like I said before, if you have any questions, if you could just go ahead and type them into the screen, into the chat box, and then Diazwal and Kelly will look those up, and then we're going to go ahead and answer some of your guys' questions. So over to you, Diazwal.
All right. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. So the very first question that I know oftentimes people have thought of when they are looking at joining an organization like Torchbearers has been, what has been one of the most impactful things you have witnessed and have been a part of or witnessed that Torchbearers had a hand in? And I'm actually going to go ahead and turn that over to Vish.
Great, thank you. I'll apologize first for those that had to hear my nasally voice. I've joked with people that I think all of us hate how we sound, and that's really where it is. So, when I recorded this video, before I start, I just wanted to let you know that there were a lot of other things that happens in our world besides the COVID pandemic. And I did really want to address that. If you do follow our social media, we did put out our external statement. I'm not going to read you verbatim of what that was, but I did want to acknowledge that Torchbearers is very committed to not just put out a statement because those are words. You know, I'll make sure I don't swear here and get emotional, but that statement is a testament, and it was done with feedback from our entire board of directors, and we're very proud of it. We're very proud of the diversity and inclusion work that we've done, but we know it's just the beginning. You know, we're in this place because of, you know, systemic racism, you know, injustices that have been done for many, especially those that are Black men, Black women, that have felt that. And that's really where, you know, we want to make sure that the dialogue remains open. We can't learn from each other. We can't learn from you, even as prospective members, as leaders in our community, without having that open dialogue. So I just wanted to make sure I noted that. I know that was not a purposeful omission. It just kind of was regards to timing. So really one of the most impactful things that I've been a part of or witnessed that Torchbearers has had a hand in is really the ability to connect in many different ways through our community. My first year in Torchbearers, 2016, as you guys heard through the video, we did an event for the University of Akron, and it was called, you know, Hop to the Lock. So we invited, during the orientation for University of Akron, we invited them to walk down the street. For those that are familiar downtown, it's a good walk, but it's not that far, to visit Lock 3 and just share that space and learn from each other. We did have Swenson's delivered. So those that know Akron and what that is, we did do that. We had plenty of vegetarian options and vegan options as well during that day. And that's kind of what that was. So that's just been one of the most impactful things. So I'll turn it back over to Diosol.
Great, thank you so much, Vish. So we have a question from somebody who is currently watching. Kate DeAngelis asked, I know that service hours is a big part of Torchbearers. Can you talk a little about service and what is expected of members? And I see Tom Dolezal, I see that you're on currently. Would you be okay and open to sharing a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Community service, that's one of the pillars of the Torchbearers organization. I'll answer this question two ways. So one, pre-coronavirus, we roughly 2 or 3 times a month, we helped out at various events, whether they be helping out with fundraisers, helping out like at the local church to feed meals to the less fortunate, helping high school students learn some various topics, a whole wide variety of ways to help out the community. That's what the Community Impact Committee, we are responsible for kind of figuring out what types of events that those will be. Post-coronavirus times, obviously you can't go have physical interaction that you could before. Hopefully that'll get better in the not too distant future, but this is the time we're in right now. So we've kind of shifted to community service opportunities where we have a wide variety of opportunities where it could be like writing letters to others, making PPE, helping out various like virtual component of various nonprofit organizations, things along those lines, just such that we can still help out our community even when we can't physically interact with others. So we're going to be continuing those going forward for the near future, and depending on how stuff shakes out with the coronavirus, maybe at some point we might go back to in-service, but for the time being, we're doing the virtual opportunities for that.
Great, thank you, Tom. We have another question from Keenan Sprague. He asked, the city of Akron announced in the past couple of days that it's considered declaring racism a public health crisis, among other measures. What role does Torchbearers expect to play in creating a more equitable and purposefully anti-racist city? And I'm actually gonna go ahead and turn that question over to our VP, Willie Cook.
Thank you, Diaswal. So the number one thing that I have to communicate, give me a quick second, guys. So, all right, hopefully this is a little bit better. You guys hear me okay? If you can, just nod. Okay. So the number one reason that that happened is because my wife is Diaswal Cook, so we're sharing the same workspace, and sometimes it's difficult to kind of sort of echo. So I got my mic on, I got my mic lower than hers so that she can communicate and field questions. To answer your question, Kenan, the number one thing that we're looking at is how we bring in our membership and how we bring in folks who are of different backgrounds than us. That's the one of the top pillars of Torchbearers. There's three. There's community service, there's talent attraction and retention, and then the other one is professional development. We are very particular about bringing in and making sure that we have a diverse population of Torchbearers that represents the city of Akron. That's one of the things that we pride ourselves on. In addition, we also released a statement. Visha and I wrote a statement a couple of days ago, and we released it to the community as well as to our membership, talking about how we do that, that we celebrate diversity, that we welcome diversity, that diversity makes us stronger. To answer your question specifically in the city of Akron, we are working on ways to figure out how to do that now. Given our 501c3 status, we have to make sure that we are abiding by the laws, particularly getting into politics, things of that sort. Not saying that the racism, the public health crisis that's going on right now is a political issue, but in some folks' eyes it is. So we're definitely working on different ways and figuring out different strategies to make sure that we are at the forefront of that fight as much as we can be. As far as our diversity and inclusion committee right now, we're actually working on a returning member programming to bring in some of the top diversity and inclusion professionals in the city of Akron to help educate and train our membership as we help to expand and to figure out how diversity and inclusion will look within Torchbearers, not only this year, but 5 to 10 years down the road.
Great. Okay. One of the next questions that we have from Crystal Levstek is, does each year have a theme that they focus on, or are the years quite similar? And Megan Meeker, would you like to chime in on that?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Diaswal. So I wouldn't say that there's necessarily a theme, but kind of the theme is your leadership and development as a first year. You go through that curriculum, and you have the power as a first year member to kind of plan that. So if you have a theme that you want to do or something you really want to focus on, you get into your committee at that committee level as a first year member, and you can use your power to make that. I know my year, we had the amazing Laura, who wanted it to be really social, and she really wanted to focus on our personal connections. So she created a lot of social ways for us to get together. We've had other groups the first group, I think it was 2017, and they did like a class gift. Like you have that power to work on that theme together or whatever you want to make the organization. That's what's so cool about it. I don't know if any other board members or any other members want to jump in about that, but I just am so proud that you as a member have that power to create it. So your L&D is similar every year with slight changes, and we do have a new facilitator this year who is listening and changing as we go along. And also to speak to the D&I initiatives, we just had a meeting today about our strategic plan that we're going to be trying to put in place for D&I, and that would be possibly adding some kind of training or like a bias training, an implicit bias training into your L&D sessions. But these are all things that, as the world changes, as we learn more and what our membership is saying, we're listening and then creating things and opportunities for us to learn and grow together. So you get to shape that. It's not like the board says, this is what you have to do. Our membership actually gets to create what they learn and where they serve and how we impact our city.
Great. Thank you, Megan. We have another question from Bo. his question is, do you have to live in Akron to be a member, or is it the greater Akron area? For context, I live in North Canton, and I'm actually going to turn that question on over to Ashley Manning. Ashley, are you there? Okay. If not Ashley, Danielle Murphy, do you want to go ahead and chime in for that?
Sure, why not? It's either live or work in the greater Akron area is what we're looking at for membership criteria. But if I could just add on to Meeker's making things your own, each class, I'm a board liaison for the Leadership and Development Committee. And so I've been on that committee since 2018. And I could assure you that although the topics are relatively the same, at least on theme, they are wholly different each year. And it's actually really exciting to see each class differ. So for example, last night the class had a collaboration, and it was about bringing folks together from different areas like Akron Public Schools, United Way, the food bank, about the COVID-19 crisis. When my year, it was collaboration about the opioid crisis with the court systems and other outreach programs and the police system. So it's super unique for everybody in every class, and it's really great to see everybody's own flair on that.
Awesome, thank you, Danielle. Okay, so another question that is frequently asked would be, what can somebody expect in terms of community service opportunities? Tom, do you want to chime back in on that?
Yeah, so for what you can expect, the opportunities that we currently have are, for example, as Maggie had noted, picking up trash around the area, whether it be your home area or around your neighborhood, giving blood, helping out some of the virtual components to some of the nonprofit organizations, like their websites, things along those lines, writing letters to either volunteers or your friends or family, just things along those lines. Or if we ever get back to in-person events, we've done things where volunteering at like charity auctions, volunteering to help feed the less fortunate, teaching high school students various types of things, going in cleaning up the Park East area or other parks, things along those lines. Basically, if there's a volunteer opportunity out there, we'd at least consider doing it. So it's a very wide variety of things that we do to help out the community.
All right, thank you, Tom. Okay, next question. What is one of your favorite things about being involved with other torchbearers? Stephen Knittel, would you like to chime in?
Sure, yes. So the favorite things about being involved with Torchbearers, that's the question, right? Just want to make sure it took me a minute to find the mute button there. Basically, just getting involved with the community and with everyone. It's kind of incredible. I was new to Akron. I kind of came down for grad school and then got a job at the county. And so I didn't really know the Akron area that well, or really that many people in the Akron area. So joining Torchbearers was really a huge way for me to get to know the community that I'm living in and a part of, and just the many, many corners that I definitely wouldn't have seen in the area without Torchbearers. There's just plenty of places that I know just based on my own sort of way that I travel around that I wouldn't have been exposed to. So really just consistently being exposed to new places and new people and new experiences. I think every year there's something new, definitely something new that I learn. I feel like it's almost every month there's something new that I'm learning, at least from Torchbearers, just about the community. And then really just everyone in Torchbearers. It's an amazing organization. I've never felt so just surrounded by people that are just amazing, the achievements that all the Torchbearers do is just absolutely incredible. And so it definitely made me feel like I have helped me put down roots in Akron and kind of gave me a good community. So I guess that's a long rambling answer to that question, hopefully.
All right, thank you, Stephen. So we have another question here from Kate DeAngelis. What does involvement look like after the first year? Sierra, do you want to chime in on that? Sierra Odin?
Sure. So the only difference that really happens is you no longer have the first year curriculum. So, your first year programming is focused on that leadership and development. After that, you really step more into, we have returning member programming. So that's available to all of our membership. It focuses, I think it kind of builds on what we learned in the first year. And it helps connect you more to that more established leadership that we have in Torchbearers, but also the community. And then it's really what you make of it. So your second year is going to be your engagement with your committee, the service hours that you do, and really kind of taking what you learned in your first year and putting into action, either within Torchbearers, but also in the community. So I've really enjoyed it. This is my second year, and it's a little different than I envisioned whenever the year started. But it's really cool to also meet the new membership and have a part in helping them feel welcome and developing them as well. So it's awesome.
Thanks, Sierra. Okay, another question from Kate DeAngelis. How is Torchbearers different from other leadership programs? For example, I went through the Portage County Leadership. Vish, would you like to answer that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great question. Even in our hometown of Akron, we have Leadership Akron as well. So what makes Torchbearers different from those is just the what you've heard already from everyone that's spoken. The relationships that you build. More so than that as well is that you are able to develop as a leader, both professionally and personally. And you get to do that in a collaborative way. Before I was at the United Way of Summit County, as a staff member, I worked at Akron Children's. And I kind of lived in that bubble in the hospital. So Torchbearers allowed me to understand that there's so many people from different backgrounds, different industries, different experiences that are all coming together and really just bettering the Akron and the greater Akron area. So that's one way that we're certainly different. And I think that's really how we differ from a lot of other young professional organizations. I'll to my dying day, I'll speak to how Torchbearers has meant so much to me in my career and what that looks like. And it's just a way to get involved, really get your hands dirty. Tom spoke about picking up, a few of our members picking up trash. So literally and figuratively, you get to do that. So.
Okay, great, Vish. Thank you so much. Keenan Sprague asked another question. Could you elaborate a bit more on the balance between the self-design portion of first year L&D and the portion led by second year members? Willie, would you like to answer that?
Sure. 1 second, hold on. Okay, can everybody hear me? You guys good? Sorry, I should have just moved, but I didn't. So to elaborate, first year versus second year, Keenan, what I think you're asking is how is first year and second year different? So the first year is largely regimented throughout the organization. So almost every year looks a little bit similar. Some things may change. Here's what I found personally, and this kind of sort of goes back to the question that Vish just answered. When I went through the first year curriculum for leadership and development, it was called TV College then. So we've kind of sort of made it a little bit more attractive, the name of the organization or the name of the committee, but it rivals that of graduate degree programs. So I took a graduate program at Ohio State University as an executive MBA. I had already done the DISC analysis through Torchbearers. I had already done a Strengths Finder through Torchbearers. The collaboration, the teamwork, community impact, working on how to be a better board member, how to be a board member. All of those things are things that you're going to learn in your first year as a torchbearer, which is incredibly valuable. Because I don't know, and I'll kind of sort of swing back around a little bit to what V said also, and add a little bit of spice to it. We have been to Detroit, we've been to Columbus, we've been to Cincinnati, we've been to Cleveland, we've been to Pittsburgh. We went to all these places, part of different grants that we had from different organizations in the community that pay for them. And we wanted to see what we were doing versus what other large cities were doing as far as for their young professionals. No one, I'm going to say this again, no one is doing it like Akron is doing it. There is no organization that looks like Torchbearers that brings to its membership what Torchbearers brings. There's a lot of organizations where they do a lot of, they do some community service. They do a lot of gatherings where they just get together and kind of sort of socialize. We do gatherings, we socialize, we do a hell of a lot of community service. I think we did 2,600 hours last year, or maybe it was close to 3,000. In the last 4 to 5 years, we've probably clocked over 12 to 15,000 hours of community service through all of our members in the last 5 years. But the value that you get in that first year, the people that we bring you in contact with in our L&D curriculum is second to none. There's nobody that's doing it this way. And Akron really seriously gets behind its young professionals. So the Park East projects was, brought to us. And we were able to, really impact, the Park East community, not just once with the Park East project itself, but a second time with the Kaboom build, which Byron Delpinall was one of the team leaders on that event. And so there were probably about 20 torchbearers there throughout the day helping build that project in the same area that we had just put a fitness trail. Okay. The Spartan Rants, this is going back a couple of years. A lot of these things come out of what Torchbearers brings. In your second year, it's a little bit less regimented. So you're not doing the L&D curriculum again, but now there's returning member programming. So we're talking about that with diversity and inclusion. We're bringing two very heavy hitters in diversity and inclusion to really help us strengthen our diversity and inclusion efforts. In addition to that, there's other volunteer opportunities, and then other opportunities like Park East and some other different things that we've done in the last couple of years. There's been so many, they don't really come to my mind right now, but there are a ton. And the cool part about Torchbearers in your second years and beyond, you get a chance to lead in your committees, possibly a chance to move up to the board level should you decide to do that. Or if you just want to just create more things, you can stay at your committee level and work on the Arts for Addiction project, which is another project that we worked on. The Edge initiative, which was kind of sort of a talent and retention initiative to keep young talent here in Akron. So there are a lot of great ways beyond your first year to get value from Torchbearers.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We have another question. And Zinga, this will be directed towards you. When you were considering applying and becoming involved with Torchbearers, what is something that you wish you had known then?
Thank you, Dee. I have a poor internet connection, so I'm not using video, but it's nice to see your faces. When I joined Torchbearers, I'm not sure if I was the typical journey. Someone, actually Willie and Dee Willie shared Torchbearers with me and said, hey, you should try this. And I'm the type of person to say yes to things, just to roll the dice and see where it takes me. So one of the things I think if I could go back and tell myself to keep with me from the beginning is just how meaningful these relationships really are. When you look at what's happening with our generation, we are becoming the leaders of this modern time. And it's so important that we have these connections to ensure that we're building something together and something that's meaningful. So I just would really focus on the importance of that and the importance of working together and working as a team together. That was just a great part for me.
Thank you, Zinga. Vish, I have a question for you from Kate DeAngelis. What is the vision for the future of Torchbearers?
I'm going to defer to the vice president. I've for those that are sports fans or those that are not, a couple years ago, Magic Johnson was the GM or an executive of the Los Angeles Lakers, and how he quit was he just said, "I'm not going to be here." And I've texted Willie that countless times. He can nod his head up and down to confirm. In all seriousness, I will still be involved with Torchbearers. I love Torchbearers, so it'll always be a big part of me. But Willie is going to be kind of your fearless leader going into 2021. So I'll defer right back to him.
So I'm gonna check with my wife. Okay, we're good. All right. I was checking with my wife to make sure that we didn't have any feedback this time around. So first thing is our vision is we envision a culture of empowered and diverse leadership in which our members are making meaningful contributions to the greater Akron community. That is our vision. That is what we do. So we're actually in a weird position right now. So we're battling COVID-19, and we're battling a lot of discord and just hurt in the community in the world right now, especially in our country. So there are, it's a difficult question. It's a multi-headed question. It's like a hydra in a way. The number one thing is we want to continue the vision and the efforts of Torchbearers into 2021 and what we've been doing. We want to make sure that we're impacting our community. We want to make sure that our membership feel like they belong here and feel connected. Even in the time where we're not able to physically be together, we can only get together virtually at the moment right now. And we're hoping that's going to change here in the next couple of months or so. But really making sure that we're banding together and our membership feels connected and they feel attached to the mission, and they feel like they can execute the mission. In the future, there are a lot of opportunities that kind of sort of come our way and come down the pipeline from higher up in the community, from the mayor's office, from the Knight Foundation. There are different things that kind of sort of come up, and we kind of sort of make sure that we're kind of fielding those and put those into play as a part of our plan of attack for that year. One big thing is going to be diversity and inclusion, making sure that the community knows that we respect and that we appreciate and we celebrate diversity. That's going to be one of the biggest things that we can do to make sure that we're continuing to bring in folks that are of different minds that represent the city of Akron in every way possible, not just in race, not just in sex, not just in anywhere else, but also the things that they do in their daily lives, what they do in their workplaces, what kind of positions they hold. Not just folks that are just attorneys and lawyers or folks that are white collar, but folks that are blue collar as well. I come from that background. So currently I'm a educator at Akron Public Schools. I work at East High School. But in my past life, last couple of years, I was in construction and I worked at a steel mill. And, interviewing, some folks saw some things in me and, they took a chance on me. And this is kind of sort of 5-6 years later. And we're, I'm ecstatic about the experience that I've had. I want to make sure that our membership feels like we're adding value to their experience in the organization. And I want to make sure that the community thinks that we're adding value to them as well, not only in the general Akron community, but our corporate community, that we're continuing to add value to the young professionals that they send to us to go through our curriculum, and to make sure that we're adding value to the city as a whole.
Great, thank you, Willie. I have another question from Colin, and this is directed towards Rachel Logan. For those deciding when to apply this year or in later years, what advice could you share for how someone would know it would be the right time to apply?
Sure. In my opinion, it's really a personal choice. Deciding with Torchbearers, it is you get out of it what you put into it. So I know when I went through my first year, I was really active, I was really engaged, and I had an incredible time. And I would say if you're not able to put towards just put towards like a lot of time towards torchbearers, you might not get out of it what you might have been expecting to get out of it. For mandatory stuff during your first year, I think there's maybe 4 mandatory L&D sessions, and those are scattered quarterly. So you'll join a committee and that meets monthly. So that'll be like a year commitment, or 1 hour commitment per month. And then community service events, you can pick and choose during the year when you can participate in those. I know some people, they're less busy in the summer or less busy in the fall or winter. So if you want to be more active during the community at that time, that's definitely an option. But really, it goes back to like, so there is definitely, your first year is definitely the most, you have the most mandatory stuff to do during your first year with the L&D sessions and everything, but that's up to you to look at what type of time commitment you have to put towards torchbearers and like how much you want to get out of it. Because like I said at the beginning, the more you can put into it, definitely the more you'll be able to get out of it.
Awesome. Thank you, Rachel. This next question is for Elise Love from Zoe. I know Veach said the program is flexible for people with different needs, but what does the typical time commitment look like for members?
That's a great question. I'm glad you put that my way because I think I had kind of, so I'm in my 2nd year right now. I'm serving on the Community Impact Committee. Shout out Tom, Rachel. But I was pregnant all through my first year of Torchbearers. So I was accepted into the program, found out I was pregnant about 6 weeks later, and it's history. I'm surprised you can't hear the pterodactyl screaming from upstairs right now. She has found her voice. But so I actually was due, I think it was 2 days after our August L&D session. Torchbearers was extremely flexible. I was obviously not at that L&D session. I was in the hospital, but I was still able to connect with Linda, who was our facilitator. I was able to connect with my team members and the L&D committee so that I was sure that I didn't miss the curriculum. It was the communication session, so I was super into that. So Torchbearers is a very flexible organization when needs to, but I will echo what Rachel said, like you get out of it what you put into it. So the more that you are able to say, you know, I'm going to apply this year, I'm going to commit the time and I'm going to put it in, it will be the more you get out of it. But stuff happens, as we can tell right now, since we're virtual and not all together in the same room. So they were really wonderful for me, and I'm so grateful for it.
Thank you, Elise. I have another question here for James Gaken. I know there is financial aid for those who join, but how far does it go? Currently very low income and would likely be for the next year.
So Torchbearers has partnerships with a variety of organizations in the community that helps with providing scholarships. In addition to that, Torchbearers has reserves and allocates a set amount each year for scholarships. We review that amount each year with the budget. And the last couple years, I correct me if I'm wrong, anybody who else is on the board, we have not met that amount allocated to scholarships. And I guess the last point is, if there's a need for scholarships, Torchbearers will always provide that.
All right, thank you.
The one thing I'll add to James, that last point is a big one. You know, we're not going to limit any sort of potential leader or community leader that are on this call or those that aren't able to join for ability to pay. So we want to make sure everyone has that experience. So if there is a formal process and it still has to go through, but for the most part, we want to make sure that anyone that is able to join, gets accepted, still has the ability to go through with the program, no matter what happens for their, you know, for that year or even beyond that. So thanks.
Okay, thank you, Vish and James. I have another question for Heather Floor. Torchbearers' application focuses a lot on a person's position and job. During this time of COVID-19, if we are unsure of where our current position is going or will last, do we need to be concerned if this changes during the application and interview process?
That's a great question. When I was applying for Torchbearers, I actually was looking at potentially making a move. So when I was filling out my application, and I'm a second year member, so I was a class of 2019. So this was in 2018 when I was applying. I reached out to one of the board members that I knew and basically asked this question more or less and just said, you know, what do you recommend I put in here as far as what I'm doing for my role right now? And the recommendation I was given to just put it for the role I was in currently as it was at that time, not to try to look ahead, not to try to have ESP and what might be coming down the pipeline for me, but where I was at that moment in time. So that's what I did. And I think that answers the question. Does that answer it?
Yes. And actually, while I have you on, I'm going to ask you another question. What can I expect from the interview process? Could you share?
Sure. So the interview process will first be, I guess it'll be brought to your attention that you have been selected to move on to the interview process first. So that's after you've applied, applications have closed, and the board has gone through and made the determination of who's going to have an interview. So you will have somebody from the membership committee reach out to you to let you know that you'll have an interview. I think it was alluded either in the video or from either Vish or Willie that we have 3 members in every interview team. So we have a board member, a returning member, and a new member. So when I say new member, I mean someone that's in the current class. So that's the class of 2020 right now. And we do that for a number of reasons, but it gives us a really good way of looking at a potential member across the various years and the ways that Torchbearers has evolved and the things that we're thinking through. It also allows us to be able to provide feedback to the potential member, the person that is interviewing to join Torchbearers, based on specific questions. So you come in, it's very structured. We keep to a very strict timeline so that everyone has the same kind of level playing field. And each member on the interview team has set questions that they will ask. All the questions to each prospective member are the same. We will not go off script in those questions. That is what helps us to evaluate potential members to see where they'll be for a fit for the class for that coming year. So that does not bar new members from asking questions of their own that we would be happy to answer if the time is still there. But that just helps us to be sure that as we're going through, we're as objective as possible.
Awesome. Thank you, Heather. And it looks like Vish made a note in the chat to Crystal. It's always good to use a personal email instead of a work email on your application as well. And I have one very last question, and this will be for Kelly McCood. For new members, what has your experience been like? Kelly, if you would like to share.
Sure. So I was pretty uncertain if I wanted to join Torchbearers or not. I just wasn't sure like what the experience would be like and what the time commitment was going to be, or if I'd fit into the culture of Torchbearers. But I attended the Recruitment Mixer, and I really just met a number of really open-hearted, open-minded, intelligent people. And they were also super fun. And so I thought a bit more about it and decided to apply. And I'm really happy that I did, because it's been a really positive experience, even given the fact that our first year membership looks a little bit different than normal. But the membership body is made up of quality people who I feel like they want to grow in their own abilities and their leadership, but they also want to grow alongside others and really make a difference in the lives of others. And while we haven't all gotten to know each other in the way that I think we would have liked, you can see that there's community still being built. I've also really appreciated the leadership and the development seminars. Those are facilitated by Jeremy Lyle, and they're really thought-provoking and provide a nice time for self-reflection. And I just noticed personally that as I continue to grow into more complex leadership roles, my days become busier and I don't have that time for self-reflection. So it's easy to push off working on yourself. But those seminars are really allowing us some of that time. Torchbearers has really provided that space. And then I think just one other thing to note is that I've been inspired by my fellow torchbearers really on many occasions, but just their ability to lead, Vish and Willie and the board and co-chairs, they figured out how to basically pivot everything onto online when a pandemic hit. As Vish mentioned, like we recently released a statement just in support of racial justice. And even last night, some of our new members wanted to take it further than that. Like how do we support that and move that into action? So I really enjoyed my time with Torchbearers and I really encourage you all to apply.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelly.
Alrighty, so I want to thank all of our new members and our returning members for answering all those questions. Again, I just want to say how great it is to see all of your guys' faces. You know, I've missed you here. I don't have 2 dogs like Kate has over there, and I really love them. They're so sweet. I can see them. But what's next and the process that's coming up, like Vish said earlier on the video, right now our application process is opened. It started on May 1st and it'll go till June 30th. So please don't hesitate. That's really an important, you know, first step to get yourself in there. And then at the end of late July, that's when interviews are going to be. Obviously, with everything that's going on, things could be subject to change. We could do all of it virtually. You know, we're kind of rolling with the punches as we go, so bear with us. But you know, we would let you know around late July. And then early September, the interviews would end. Mid-September, we'd have a selection period with our board. We'd choose the individual candidates. And then early November, we would announce the class of 2020 membership, and we would notify all of those individuals. But you can always find that timeline. If you go onto our website, there's a bunch of information about you know, what's coming up next, what's going on. You want to make sure that you definitely go and apply though. I have tried to get in, well, I haven't tried to get into Torchbearers for 3 years. I kept telling myself I was going to apply, I was going to go through the process, and there was always something that kind of stopped me, whether it was life, you know, new jobs, this, that, the other, and I would always make this excuse to myself. And really, you know, now that I've applied, now that I'm in, my only regrets are that was 3 years that I missed out on making friends. That's 3 years that I missed out, you know, going to these organizations, these events, and seeing all this stuff. And, you know, overall, you know, 3 years that I missed out helping our community. You know, so if you're considering joining, I just ask that you please do it. Please just go onto our website, apply. It's a fantastic organization. And, you know, you learn so much as you go. Like I learned so much about myself just in starting year 1. I mean, we're only, you know, we're in June right now, and I feel like I've learned so much already, and most of it's virtual and most of it's, you know, going, you know, just along on the ride. But so go onto our website. Up at the top, there's a little bar. It says apply up there. You can click on that. And then there's a lot of information about how to become a member, how to apply, frequently asked questions, and stuff like that. So, and then we can go to the next slide. So follow us on social media too. That's definitely an important way to keep connected with us and with the community. We have our Facebook, our Instagram, and our Twitter, along with our hashtags down there. Regardless of if you're gonna apply now, you're gonna apply later. It's just a great way to kind of stay connected with us to see what we're doing. It's also a great way to research our organization as a whole. I know I was super hesitant to ask questions in something like this kind of setup when we had our mixer, but it's a good way to kind of like dig into the organization, see what we do. You know, I might have creeped on a couple of the members and stuff like that, just to see like who these people are and what they stand for. You know, you're all more than welcome to go on our stuff and definitely do your own research. Now, that kind of concludes our presentation for today. But again, I just wanted to thank everybody, all of our returning members and our new members and all of our potential members for joining us today. I know I speak on the behalf of my committee membership, and I speak on the behalf of the board and all the members of Torchbearers, and I'm going to take that liberty to do that. Just to thank you guys. We're very excited to meet you guys. Every single one of us is. I know I've talked to a bunch of different people the last week, and we're all, super excited to see you guys. So thank you guys so much. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Vish if he has any other questions, comments, or concerns, or Willie.
Thank you, guys. Echoing what Aaron said, couldn't have said it better myself, is just thank you guys for taking an hour of your evenings. I know it's tough, especially when you're working all day, but we do appreciate each and every one of you, even a lot of our current members who stayed on, and want to see a lot of you next year as well. So we're very excited about what 2021 is going to come. And we will stay on. We will stop the recording. And so if people do have questions, feel free to unmute yourself. If you do need to leave, that's okay. If you have dogs that want to say hi, that's fine as well. They're more than welcome as well.